And it's fantastic then to sort of kick off this session with Michael Griffiths from Glasgow Clyde College. As I mentioned at the start, Michael, Glasgow is a place very close to my heart. I lived there for 4 years and taught across the universities there. I think in nearly every university in Glasgow, certainly. But you're going to talk to us a bit about what you've been working on and how you've been leading some of this esports education within the college sector. So welcome, and over to you.
Good morning, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me loud and clear. I'm going to take you through what we've been doing at Glasgow Clyde College, initially at the Langside campus, but now at the Anniesland campus as well. So who am I? Well, I'm the senior lecturer for computing at the Langside campus. And why am I here and why should you listen? That sounds maybe, the why should you listen is maybe a wee bit more aggressive than I wanted to come across as, but long story short, I've played games all my days, from the ZX81 that came into the house in the early 80s. I know some of you might not remember a vintage computer like that, but all the way through all the PlayStations and so on. And I've moved on from trying to explain to people why I was never good enough to make it as a footballer, now as to why I was never good enough to make it as a gamer. But I've never gamed competitively. I have crowded into many living rooms and bedrooms down the years to play tournaments with friends, but sadly I think it was pointed out that in the last presentation that retirement age for esports can be in mid-20s. Well, I have passed that, so I think I might have peaked in terms of my gaming ability. But what I'm going to talk to you about is some of how we've introduced esports into our curriculum, and some of the challenges and some of the victories we've had, and going to be quite honest about the process as well. So what we were asked maybe, 3 years ago now, to come up with maybe some different flavours of curriculum that would break away from the usual computing delivery. We get asked questions about the next big thing. As I say, I've always been a gamer. Always enjoyed it. So I floated the idea of esports, which was initially met with, what? and then it was, so you want people to build games? No, I want people to play games. And I think everyone in these presentations will have experienced the kind of the incredulity that there could be a course in gaming and playing games for competitively. So what we were looking for is to engage other students out with just the kind of typical computing students, and also to validate the interest in esports. So very briefly, if we look here, this would be maybe 3 years ago, our kind of flat computing course delivery. Level 4 computing would be very much the entry level, getting slightly tougher through the level 5s and level 6s. But there's not much of a flavour in there in terms of variety, and it's not hugely interesting on paper. So with this idea of bringing in esports, what we had to do is come up with where could we slot this into the college year, essentially. How could we make this work alongside a qualification structure? So typically, we looked at maybe the level 4s. We felt that academically at that level it might not be the right place to pitch it. And then we after long discussions, we prompted to go for level 6. So a level 6 computing course in 2018 would typically have looked like this. So we would deliver it as an NC, a group award, and typically we would deliver 13 SQA credits on that, including the core units for the NC. We would support this. We had 18 credits worth to deliver throughout the year. We tend to deliver the courses in 3 blocks. And using these non-SQA credits, we would usually use that as non-assessable units. Online study, maybe practical networking, programming support units, catch-up sessions, that sort of thing. there can be a slight stigma attached to college units that aren't assessed, that aren't linked to the SQA. However, I think there's a real value in them. So what we decided is that this area here was the area that we could exploit and bring some esports content into the course. So the 2019-2020, we advertised for and recruited for NQ Esports Computing. The important thing here is we gave ourselves, I said permission to fail, and I've left that in and kind of scored out. And I don't mean fail as in fall flat in your face, but use it as a learning opportunity, because this is something that we were just doing it, kind of flying by the seat of our pants. So it was very much on the hoof, adjusting as we went. We left the core units in at the level 6. That still gave the progression into the HNC computing or HNC web or whatever it may be, networking. But with these previous support units, we've introduced online games, esports team building, brand promotion and creation, esports competition and live streaming. Typically, what we would do is allocate 6 hours of class time per week to these subjects. So we would kind of do 2 in a block. The initial idea was explore the world of online games and tailor it to that particular group that had come in. Working through the year, competing against each other, competing against other colleges, and also making streams, clips, and broadcasting their achievements online. It didn't always go to plan, and I've made it how many minutes into this without mentioning COVID? So the state of play is that we're now in 2021, and unfortunately we've still not delivered a full on-campus year of this course, because the first 2 years have been massively disrupted. So the resources, couple of big challenges here. Firstly, we had to get an entire lab upgraded to spec for esports. And in that case, I would say that our IT support was excellent, and we had massive support from the head of curriculum getting it off the ground. He believed in it. With the staff, again, I could talk for a while about this. I managed to put a couple of staff's arms up their back and convince them that they could engage the group with esports, although it could be quite intimidating for staff members who hadn't played competitively. But what I saw their role was to organise and to oversee and to structure things. In terms of the challenges, managing expectations in terms of what can be achieved on the course. The challenge is, I said, educating the students. That can always be the challenge in our job. In terms of that, what I mean by that is we can encounter students who have seen the esports and become very focused on just playing games. So to try and keep them motivated and maintain an interest in other curricular areas can be a challenge. What I was very keen to avoid was it turning into some sort of gaming club where people just sit and play whatever game they feel like on any given day. That's not esports in my view. That's just playing games for fun. Not that I don't want it to be fun. Another couple of challenges we've faced: encouraging students out of their comfort zone, and encouraging them to engage online, to be proud of what they can do in a game and to be proud of what they can achieve. This is an age-old problem we've got, is getting female students involved in esports. I know we've got speakers later on addressing that. That's a general issue can come up with computing. The IT guys have been brilliant with us. I think they're a bit sick of us calling us up to the lab and trying to do different things. The main issue we've had is installation rights and firewall issues. Firewalls can change and throw a class up in the air before it started. These seem like petty things, but they are big issues that we have encountered with. But as I say, the support we've had in general has been excellent. The wins, well, it's been able to offer something personally that I'm passionate about to students who share that passion. Altering the perception of gamers, getting them engaged and moving on. Also, we've used this during the pandemic to bring the students together, to have somewhere to go. We've got a Discord server they can go to. We've also got a gaming lab that can be used for other students to access. And again, just to bring, there was years ago, somebody might be aware of it, the term sticky campus, to keep students wanting to be on campus. So it's a great resource for us to have. And we're creating a safe, competitive and validating environment for gamers. And we're getting the wheels slowly turning on the system. What's next for us? Well, as I say, a full year of the course on campus would be fantastic. That's where I've went for the optimism. I'm hopeful next year that things may be slightly more normal. We are looking to step away from the baby steps that we've taken and start to look at more exploration into careers. And I know the guys earlier on were talking about that. And we want to widen the gaming side of the curriculum. We're looking at the BTEC guys and hooking up with them a wee bit more to give a more focused and specialised course. We're wanting to get the students to achieve more and to compete and enjoy it and feel that their course has been worthwhile. At the moment, it's a platform into more computing courses, but we would really like to eventually offer a genuine progression route into careers in esports.
Wow, thank you very much, Michael. That was a real whirlwind, and it's so great to get into the detail of this. I certainly sympathise with your installation challenges and working with IT to make sure that you can get around firewalls. It's really the nitty-gritty of production that makes it work, really, isn't it? And I think that's partly why it needs to be really collaborative. And I wonder, has it been that sort of experience within the college? You said it was initially hard to convince people where they first had no idea sports is. How is that now? Are people sort of on board with it? Do they get it? Are they supporting?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things, when people started to see things like FIFA on Sky Sports during the pandemic, when there was no real football happening, I think people started to understand that was the audience was there. Then you show live events that are going on, the numbers, the viewing figures that these streams get. I think then people start to understand that there is a market here. And again, the fight to first on the iPlayer has maybe helped our cause. I've been encouraging staff to look at that as well. A kind of serious look at Excel Sports and how they've got on. So it has become easier to sell in terms of that.
Yeah, I'm seeing a number of questions in the chat. Someone mentioned that the ZX81 was manufactured in Dundee, which I didn't know. It's amazing.
Really?
Yeah. So Scotland's been there since the start, really, which is no surprise at all. But yeah, it's fantastic to hear your perspective. I suppose you talked briefly about sort of participation and widening access to it. And as you mentioned, we have Alison Morgan certainly speaking later on about women in esports. But I wonder, what have you sort of done to try to actively change things, or what do you see as the major hurdles in doing that?
Oh, I mean, it's the $1 million question. We've had 2 female students over the last 2 years, which out of 40 odd is obviously a tiny return. I think it could change because I know from my own children, my daughter will game as much as my son, and she will use it more socially as well. I think trying to create a non-toxic, respectable environment, if we can sell that to the students, is what we're looking for. Again, I think this will be touched on in more detail and with more tact than I will handle it with. But being a female in the esports world could be quite intimidating, and we want to try and create a safer environment in that sense.
Yeah, and I think certainly that's why this kind of work is so important. And I know that there are, many people really trying to think about this. And part of that's also expanding the range of things that count as esports. And certainly I know in Asia, we see different levels of participation. So I think a lot of people are really sort of committed to making changes here. And hopefully we'll hear more about that later. But thank you for the moment, Michael. And we'll hopefully hear back from you a little bit later in the conversation. But I'd like to welcome our next guest, which is Andrew Smirthwaite from the Forth Valley College, who I believe you're student president and set up your gaming society. So a wonderful story again about creation of something completely new. So tell us what you've been through and what you think we need to know to build this network of esports collaborators.
So, hello everyone, I'm Andrew. I'm the student president at Forth Valley College, the Student Association, and I want to let you know a bit about our game society and why you might want to work with your students and Student Association/union to build one. There we go. So, a bit about how ours started and a little look into its history. It started in 2019 with a dedicated student founder, Aaron Smart, a suitcase full of consoles, and taking over a classroom after college hours. As you can see from these photos, they hosted a recruitment day to bring in students into their community. They had the PlayStation VR and Nintendo Switches out for people to play on. And because of the banter and the interactivity, they pulled in 70 plus members that day. And Aaron's vision when he started the society was to allow people from the local community to come in, join in, and see how the college works and show anyone can come into education no matter their age. Each one of our campuses plays a massive part in its community, and it's important to recognise those links. So I want to show you a bit of video from the sessions that they hosted. There's no audio to these, but I can talk you through what's happening. So we'll start with the man and the legend himself, showing us into the classroom.
Check this out.
And as you can see, there's many people gathering together, playing multiplayer games, and just having a good time. And now, on to the other day, just as busy as the last, and they are often capped at the amount of students they're allowed in one room, which was pretty amazing. Into the last year, under the new leadership during there's this word again, COVID. The society has become a safe online social space for members from the college, no matter their campus, as well as, mentioned, the people from the local community. The society hosts weekly game nights of Among Us, where members come together, breaking down the walls of the virtual classroom, a very much needed way to socialize in these isolating times. They also host events, such as the Minecraft Ender Dragon fight, where they provided attendees with the equipment they required, as well as the International Men's Day, playing golf with friends and talking about mental health. Now, we're kind of close to caught up, but one point in history I'd also like to raise was the BEA and CDN Rocket League Cup, a fantastic event that got the society hyped up to represent our college. This gave space for players to play in a small selection event that the society ran. Some students putting on their streaming hats and showing off their position, as well as one of the conveners, Gregor, and myself, casting an overview of the event. And throughout the main event, our society gathered around our players and offered their support and defended them against other colleges. And whilst we came in second, we didn't cheat with world champions on our team. So why should you have one? Have you been listening? It's time for a pop quiz. No, not really. I'm winding you all up. Whilst I recognise not every institution will have an Aaron who has access to a suitcase full of consoles, most students will have their own gaming devices to join in with online facilities. The key areas on why you should get one. Socialisation being the first area. It's a great area for students to get together without the pressure of their college work. There's the community aspect, and students get to meet more people and make bigger friend groups and that peer support, which is the next one. And it really gives time for people to get to know other people. And it plays into the old adage of it's not what you know, it's who you know. That plays into soft skills. As a computing student myself, one area we have bad reputation for is bad soft skills, like communication. Having these spaces helps people grow naturally and helps that communication. Mental health. As most of us have probably felt over the last year, talking to people really helps that. There's employability. Students can adapt their skills to create personal projects, like Gregor, who I mentioned earlier, who is a budding content creator. Tournament contestants. How could I not mention the fantastic Scottish Cup again? Our team was pulled from our gaming society and supported by them. And the last one, because it's fun. So they're all key words in the current educational climate, and all very important looking into the future. So I want to talk about how to support one. We don't just throw our society conveners into the deep end and to see who swims. They go through training provided by our Activities and Volunteers Coordinator. They have the option for the staff member to facilitate their society meetings until they feel comfortable to take over, which can take a lot of stress off their shoulders. This ensures they're comfortable with the situations that might arise within the society and that they're okay with the perceived position of perceived power. Another area is advertising. Get the word out about it to other students and staff, whether that's social media, your Teams page, your Slack channel, or just a specific class. The word spreads and it means good membership can grow. Use your connections to help. We got in touch with local organisations and groups to see how they run in the community for best practice. Invite them to events. The top left image was taken at the opening of our Fujitsu hub at the Stirling campus, where we invited the Game Society along because they would also be using this space and helping advertise its uses. And a bit of homework for you all. Speak to your student association / union to see how they can help start societies and how they can help support them. And finally, a thank you. I feel if you want to have a look around at what we do, feel free to follow us on social media, have a look, or have a poke around our new website. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. That's wonderful to hear. And I must admit, the way in which the societies are being supported by staff is a fantastic model. And I certainly think it's crucial to help any esports society to get going. So tell us a bit more about your journey into this world then. Before you sort of went into college, university life, how did you sort of get into this world?
So I originally started off as a window manufacturer and fitter. It's a bit of a wild ride to get here. But I came to college in 2016 looking to change career into computing, and I started my own society within the college, which was around robotics and programming. And when a couple of years in, I was like, I can run for student president. I want to make a few changes within the college that will be great for students. And another student, Aaron, who I spoke about, who came up to me, was like, I want to start a gaming society because whilst there is the local university at Stirling, it's not really localised to us within Forth Valley. So I gave him all the resources that I could. I gave him the extra time, my learning from setting up my robotics club. And we really went forward from there. And he really ran with it and helped it grow. And it also has taught succession planning as well. Because a college life can be quite short, some students only being around for a year or two, it's given chance for students to find their replacements, to understand that these things carry on and they continue to be a force for good for the students who continue to interact with them. And it's been fantastic.
It sounds wonderful. And I guess, do you have a sense of where your students come from in terms of the courses they're taking and even the careers they sort of choose afterwards? Is there that kind of insight into their journeys that you have?
So looking at where the society itself started was in digital media, the department. And some of the members are computing students or digital media students, but we also have science, we have engineering in there. It's really managed to spread throughout the college, and anyone is welcome to join. And the thing I've been very glad to see is they haven't let cliques form. It's very much an open society that anyone is welcome to join.
That's fantastic to hear. And I think that spread of subjects is so important too. Certainly at my university, we have students in our society from all different disciplines. And I would say also, and I noticed one of the questions in the chat has been about which departments are best to get involved with this. And certainly in my context, we have the business school, the health school, the science school, and the arts and media school, all wanting to collaborate on this venture really. And many of them, I think, partly because it is such an innovative space. Michael, I wonder, what's your experience in that respect? Have you seen other sort of departments wanting to get involved? It certainly relies on a range of production skills to make these things happen.
Yeah, so we've spoken to some of the fashion lecturers about maybe getting hoodies made for for the classes. We've spoken to the business school about possibly looking at some marketing stuff. So it's how one of our challenges is how we can fit all these pieces together to give a course that will run coherently through the year. That's kind of the challenge there.
And maybe just to follow on for that, Michael, because I think this is quite a challenging question, but I wonder what your thoughts are on it. So we've had it from somebody in the chat that's asked how we're helping sort of teachers become sort of competent in teaching esports so that we can sort of feed into college. So I guess really about preparation, really, and enabling teachers to feel that they can confidently teach some of this work. Yeah,
so we've got lucky in one sense. We've got an excellent lecturer, Michael Robertson, who takes the esports group quite a lot. But obviously, we wouldn't want to put all our eggs in one basket. So, as I say, I kind of spoke earlier about how I maybe put a couple of arms up, a couple of backs, and asked lecturers who had interests in gaming to take the group. And one of the things that we've tried to do, we managed to get them a wee bit of development time, which is like gold dust in the FE sector. We managed to get them a wee bit of development time, but also one of my sells was that I don't want it to be totally student-led, but we want to have the students to have ownership of the course. So rather than it being a traditional week 1 to week 12, here is your curriculum, we want the students, the gamers, the experts in that level to come in and tell us what they're looking for, and that can shape the course as well. It does cut down a wee bit on the development for the lecturers. It's just striking that balance, because there still needs to be that discipline of who is in control of the group and who shapes it. So it's a kind of a bargaining that we've got at the moment.
Yeah, and I think what's nice about sort of esports societies and setting up these kind of gaming communities is that there's so much that's happening in this world now that there's some really great reference points for sort of quality standards in production values and those sorts of things. You can really see fantastic events being created around the world, then sort of gradually sort of feed into how we think about our own sort of production too. So Andrew, I'm curious to know also about your experience in working across departments. Has there been much collaboration in your sort of college around different departments?
So taking into consideration where I came from the computing, there's a want to work with other departments. Now, sometimes departments can be really busy, so it can be a struggle to get that collaboration. But it's definitely there, and it's definitely be great to explore it and to make sure that we make use of everything that we have and give all students the chance to take part, because it can seem like it's just the computing department or just one department where everyone has skills that can play in, as you were mentioning earlier. And yeah, so it has room to grow, I'll be honest.
Yeah, and I think certainly a lot of what we're hearing today is just how much people do want to collaborate. And I'm glad to see also in the chat, there's someone from Dundee and Angus College that's mentioned a Esports Certificate is being launched in this academic year, so September 21-22. So I think this is a growing community, and hopefully today's event will be a nice way to consolidate those networks. And speaking of which, I know that people have sort of asked, how do people stay connected after this? I often like to invite people to paste LinkedIn profiles into chat. So I feel like we could do that if people want to share where they're from and what they're doing. But certainly everybody in these sessions is on LinkedIn, so you'll be able to find people within the platform. But Michael, I guess for your program then, being sort of the first esports qualification in Scotland, I wonder what you sort of have as aspirations for your program going forward.
I suppose the kind of dream is to get a disciplined team focused on one particular game, whether it be League of Legends. I know that some of the guys on our courses are Rocket League players, and really to start to achieve at a higher level and compete at a high level. The ultimate goal would be to, I suppose, you would like to launch a superstar, and give them that platform and give them somewhere to develop their skill set and make them better. At the end of the day, we want all students though to come to the college and feel that they've achieved, that it's been worthy. And even if they don't end up being the next superstar, they've learned skills of collaboration, communication, teamwork, all these different things that fall under the esports umbrella.
And it's really interesting sort of hearing different perspectives from a range of disciplines, whether it's sort of creative media, filmmaking, or digital technologies, that how these are all interconnected disciplines. And in fact, certainly what I think is really valuable about studying esports, learning about esports production, is how those skill sets really apply to a whole range of settings within the creative and media industries. And that's, I think, what's driving a lot of the innovation, is that collaboration across the staging of events, the production of events, and I suppose also working with organizations that are really pushing the boundaries. I know that Twitch has had a great student sort of program, and there's that kind of support and entry into those organizations. And I wonder, Andrew, do you see that these sorts of collaborations have emerged around your setting? Is there sort of connections with businesses and companies that are helping realize what it is you want to do?
Yeah, so in terms of the esports side, at the one of the pictures I showed earlier, the Fujitsu launch, a couple of the industry partners we had there were talking to our Game Society leaders and trying to set up esports within our college and really push that forward. And it is those collaborations. It's trying to find them, because that can be the tough side, is finding the external partners who are interested in it that might not be visibly who you'd suspect to be interested, and really pulling those forwards and making sure that the students get that experience of working with them. And as a student association, we don't take away that work from them, because they, at the end of the day, are the leaders of their society.
And I think certainly just having sort of positive role models for young gamers especially. But I think Chester sort of mentioned earlier some of the challenges with what he described as passive media experiences, which can lead to isolationism, potentially addictive behaviors, and things that may be just contrary to sort of good health. And I wonder whether you, Andrew, also have sort of collaborations around Falkirk with schools, or whether there are opportunities to bring students from the college into the school setting to act as those kind of role models, but also give people a sort of pathway and sense of where they can go next with their passion in esports.
That's not something that we do have, but is actually something I would be interested in taking forward, because we've done a similar thing with my robotics club. I was invited into schools to do a mini robotics session. So definitely something around esports and healthy gaming would be fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I have a passion in sort of digital health technologies, and certainly feel strongly that we need to support young people more in that area. But I think certainly it's great to think about how we can bring those role models into the school setting and give people a pathway. I think partly, Mike, I don't know what your experience is, but certainly I think many parents are looking for ways to nurture the passion that their kids have for gaming into a sort of positive career path, or something that they can really sort of take forward in lots of really valuable ways.
Yeah. I mean, I would like to think that, again, sorry to keep referring to the pandemic, I've seen students keeping their social well-being together through games, which is something that would maybe not have been viewed before. So, listen, I think everything needs to be done in moderation, and I'm aware of the commitment that is needed to be a top esports player. But I'm hopeful that after this, and I am biased because I am a gamer, but I hope that the computing is viewed, or gaming is viewed, as a more collaborative tool after lockdown is finished. There needs to be a balance, but I think it, rather than being to the detriment of a lot of people's mental health, it's maybe saved it in some cases.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And again, thank you both for sharing your really pioneering experiences in this world. I hope everyone's sort of taking some inspirational value out of that. Certainly, I know I have. And I think partly what's often driven me to be in this space is the realization that if we do compare esports to sports, then we've kind of, I know I sort of grew up playing games on my computer, sort of in my bedroom with my siblings, but parents were sort of outside of that space. And I think that's something that's kind of changing quite a lot, where parents are more present within this world. I know there are quite a few organizations that are are really built by parents trying to work with their children to build these gaming experiences. So thank you very much in sharing these perspectives. And hopefully we're building some new collaborations today that will take us further into the future. So thank you.